Thank you to our sponsors for today's video, Ionna, InfyPower, Eaton, and EVCS. Ionna, North America's premier charging network. With unmatched commitment to elevating the customer experience, Ionna is opening America's roads to all EVs, giving drivers the coverage they need, the reliability they deserve, and the amenities they crave. Also, InfyPower, the largest EV charger module provider with over 3 million power modules running reliably worldwide. Their latest G2 collection features ultra-high power density and efficiency for EV charging and energy storage integration. InfyPower, innovation for your power. And Eaton. Eaton is a one-stop shop for implementing reliable and innovative EV charging infrastructure at your site. Across all applications, Eaton's EV charging infrastructure, hardware, and software gives you the scalability, flexibility, and intelligence you need to charge today and scale up tomorrow. Learn more at eaton.com/EVCI. And EVCS 2025, the premier EV charging expo. From utilities to policymakers and tech innovators, the key players in shaping EV infrastructure are coming together at EVCS in Las Vegas on March 25th through 27th. We would love to see you there. Hello and welcome to another Out of Spec Reviews video. We have noticed many of our viewers and many people in public have purchased or leased both the Honda Prologue and the Nissan ARIYA. And since they're both under Japanese brands, electric SUVs, we thought we'd bring them together and figure out, one, why they're so popular. Very good lease deals, Jordan. And also, which one should you go for, given the choice? We have so many viewers that are in the market for a various array of electric cars, and we're going to be doing more comparisons like this. So stay tuned. Let us know what other cars you want us to put side by side, drive them back to back. And of course, we already have in-depth testing videos and reviews on both of these cars, but Jordan, we have not put them together yet.
Right, and now I can see why this one looks so much better.
Totally disagree. This looks better. So you can see how this video is going to go. We're going to both, share some exterior thoughts, interior thoughts, range, and charging information. We're going to drive them both back to back, Jordan. And then, of course, we'll let you know what we believe is the choice between two of these. I also have real numbers, Jordan, on leases this month, which is March of 2024. They are surprisingly close in lease price. The MSRP of the vehicle would not lead you to believe that.
Right.
So we're going to get into all of that, of course, in this video. Jordan, you know who we have to thank for this video?
Fort Collins Nissan.
Fort Collins Nissan. We love the guys over there. They're super cool. It's where we did that really cheap lease deal recently. They were kind enough to loan us this ARIYA for a few days to make this video. So shout out to Fort Collins Nissan. Jordan, you know who else we have to thank?
Mark Lee Honda.
Mark Lee Honda, right here in Fort Collins. Super cool of them to loan us their Prologue Touring for the day. It's really cool to be able to have awesome dealerships here in the northern Colorado area. We highly recommend working with them. And if you do work with them, send us an email, let us know how it goes. Let them know that you're an out of spec viewer. So many of our viewers buy cars from dealers here in northern Colorado, Jordan, from all over the country because of us.
Right.
We get nothing from it. Maybe we should create some referral deal here. But we just want our viewers to work with really cool dealers that aren't going to BS you, aren't going to put a bunch of protection packages on, none of that. Hassle-free car buying is so rare in 2025, unless you're buying from Tesla, Rivian, or Lucid, which are direct to manufacturer. If you want one of these cars, definitely work with the dealers that support us, because they let us borrow their cars to make videos for you, and they will not give you a terrible buying experience. So shout out to Fort Collins Nissan, shout out to Mark Lee Honda. That's enough of an ad. Let's get into the comparison. All right, show me around your Chevy.
Yeah, this is the Blazer. No, this is the Prologue. Which trim is this?
This is the mid-spec. So there's 3 specs for Prologue. There's EX, Touring, and Elite.
Right.
And the base price of the Prologue is deep into the $40,000 range, where the ARIYA, we'll get into, is significantly less money. And actually, I believe to be a better car. I know you think this is a better car. That's what we're going to sort out in this video. But Honda went the GM route. They phoned it in. They had a menu from GM. They said, okay, what options do you want? What do you want it to look like? And basically this is built at the General Motors factory alongside other Chevy products.
And I do think it's the best looking on this platform. That's my take.
So would you do this over Blazer?
Yep.
And over Lyric?
Yep.
Really?
Maybe. Lyric, I don't know. That's interesting, but
It's a lot more money too.
I think this looks really, really pretty good.
Okay, yeah, let's run around, have the camera come around. Let's show everyone the side. Jordan, show everyone what we got over here.
Yeah, you've got Forerunner looking wheels. That's what a lot of people have said they look like, and I can't unsee it. But otherwise,
basic. I don't like the wheels at all. The Touring model gets a better wheel.
Yeah. I guess so, yeah.
But you get less range.
Right. So yeah, this one is, I don't know, it looks like a squatty, long SUV. It is like 10 inches longer than the Ariya over there.
Okay.
And a little bit wider, but they are the same exact height.
Interesting. So this is definitely should have more cargo capacity, right? Come on back here. Let's show everyone what it looks like here. And then you have the key on you?
Yep.
Okay, great. Let's show everyone your Chevy key.
It threw me off, yeah. This is actually just a Chevy key, but with a Honda badge, which is kind of funny.
I mean, we rag on Honda a lot for phoning it in with this and the ZDX, but it honestly is a really nice car.
It worked, and it sold really well last year, so.
That's the thing. So many of these out there, Jordan.
Yeah.
It's really surprising to me. And we'll get into the lease numbers in a bit, but they do these lease specials sometimes, and they're just amazing. Even though it's quite big, it doesn't have that much trunk space.
No, you'd think it'd have more, but it's like 1 cubic foot more than this is like 24 cubic feet. And then with the seats down, it's like 55. So it's actually worse than the Ariya with the seats down.
Really?
Which is
so
really
even
funny.
though it's significantly longer, this has more cargo capacity?
I guess that has better packaging slightly.
Okay, well, that's the interesting thing. Even though we've brought 2 Japanese electric SUVs, this is really an American car.
It really is, yeah.
And it's really just sold in North America. I don't think they sell this in Europe or any other markets, do they?
I don't know.
I don't think so, because they have the E:any one,
Right.
or New York one. I don't know how you even say it. And then they've got some Chinese versions too.
Yeah.
This is a global car. This is sold pretty much everywhere.
Yeah.
So I think your car looks really nice. I mean, it's pretty basic in my view, but from a styling perspective, this clearly takes the cake, especially in my view, when you get the Platinum Plus version of the Ariya, you get the big wheels. I just think it looks so cool. Come around to the front so everyone can see that hero shot. I really want the viewers to know how much better this car looks, Jordan.
Its looks are so subjective, but I guess, yeah, it is striking. It does look better than a Leaf, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, definitely better than a Leaf. Nissan was early to the EV game, and I own a very early Nissan Leaf, and then they kind of dropped the ball.
Right, this was how many years late arriving? It was like 3 years late.
This would have been interesting if it launched in 2018,
Right.
and then it launched like in 2022.
Because I do feel like a lot of the specs we're looking at right now are like 2020 specs.
That's the thing. Between both of these vehicles, it's important to note up front, they really only make sense on a cheap lease.
Yeah.
Because based off of the MSRP sticker price, which we'll get to later on in this video, you should never pay full price for either of these cars, especially when Tesla Model Y. I hate to be that guy, but the new Model Y costs pretty much what these cars cost loaded and is 100 times better in every way.
Yep.
So we're really, this is sort of the alternative series that we're doing. And on a lease, these make a lot of sense. Come around to the side of the Ariya, run around with me. By the way, Jordan, this is a base option, no spec entry-level Ariya. Still comes with keyless entry, still comes with head-up display, really nice things. I think it looks kind of cool.
It does, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, I think it's neat. And then you look at it from the back, and these are getting very popular. I've seen a bunch of these. Our friend Lacey has one actually, and she's really enjoyed it. It's been a really nice, reliable car for her. And, from a styling perspective, super nice. And then you mentioned that this has more, no power trunk in this one. You mentioned, dude, way bigger trunk. What are you talking about here? How is that 10 inches longer?
I don't know. They're not very great packaging over there.
Let's fold the seats and let's show everyone. We'll do the Alyssa test. So that is a ton of space.
Yeah.
Absolute
That's
massive
like
amount of
60.
space.
And this is like 55 with the seats down.
Okay, you can get the seats all up in the trunk. I mean, this is pretty wide. This feels wider than the Ariya, but in a similar amount of space actually.
Yeah, it's very comparable.
But I'm not seeing the 10 inches.
No. Well, the hood's longer, but neither of these cars have front.
Let's pop the hoods. Let's see what's under there.
Because of the GM beep, I don't think I can buy this.
Oh my God, dude, what the heck? This is disgusting. How is that considered good engineering, Jordan?
Yeah, well, I found the 10 inches. It's just there's no usable storage shell in there.
You know someone's going to make an accessory to make a front trunk out of
Right.
that. Also, disgusting.
Yeah,
How is this considered engineering excellence from either company?
that's pretty bad.
This is really bad. You look at the competition, Mustang Mach-E, trying to think what else.
ID4.
Model
well,
Y.
ID4 does the same thing as this.
ID4 is the same.
There's very few
nastiness.
frunks out there, actually.
In this category.
Yeah.
That's a real...
Which is interesting.
You know, some people may not care, some people like it, but like this, clearly there's room for a front trunk. And Jordan, like, you can get both of these vehicles either as two-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. Both of them are front drive. So it's not like anything changes up front on either car packaging-wise. This could have a front trunk easily. They
Right.
just said, ignore it, and they
even
put a
have
bunch
the
of
nice
cables.
hood struts here for like a frunk.
That's a real, yeah, that's a nice upgrade for the one time you'll put washer fluid in.
Right.
Okay, so that's really the exterior and the space. I mean, my view is that is basic. It's not offensive. This is, I think, a little bit more technical, a little bit more styled.
This does look a bit more futuristic, whereas this one feels more like a normal car.
Yeah,
For some people, they like that.
does it look like a Honda to you?
No, not really.
No.
Well, it's ish, yeah. Like Mini Passport, I don't know. It's got some of the Honda design cues, and I really actually like the design of this a lot. Like, I don't know why I do, I just do.
Okay, so let's do back seats in your car and then front seats, and we'll do the same in the Ariya. All right, present to me why this is a nice backseat experience, Jordan.
It's not really, but we have space.
You
Nothing.
can start. Oh, yeah, you can start whatever.
Okay. So it's not the nicest place to be, but I have plenty of space.
I have no space. How do you have?
Well, wait, I wasn't sitting up.
Dude, the headroom sucks.
Yeah, they do the thing that everyone seems to do where the window, like the glass roof is not advantage to your head at all. Like it cuts in too far,
Right.
this thing does, and it also doesn't go back far enough.
So
If I was right here, it'd be great.
I'm pretty sure if you spec the base Prologue, which we don't have right now, then this, yeah, this may not be as much of an issue, but certainly in the Touring and the Elite, you do have a glass roof issue. It's not a totally fair comparison for headroom because the Ariya that we have does not have the glass roof.
Okay.
But this is very basic back here, Jordan. Look at your door cards, all GM plastic.
Yeah.
That's like the cheapest type of material ever. We have some, oh, feel free to,
This
hold
feels
that up.
like the back of a work truck from, Silverado EV work truck.
Yeah, but that's basically what it is. Everything is super hard plastic. You have just 2 air vents back here, no B-pillar vents, quite a lot of leg room. So
That's
you
where the
have to
leg
give
comes,
them,
yeah.
So like for a car seat or something, plenty of room. You do have this, 2 cup holder thing. It's fine. No heated seats back here. It's just very basic. Everything is just like dark and depressing. You can get a nice lighter color interior though.
Yeah, that is better. I've seen it. It looks way better.
Yeah, actually, when Alyssa and I first reviewed this car, then yes, we agreed. We had the light interior was much nicer. But there is just something so un-Honda feeling about everything in here.
Right. It really just feels basic GM, which is easy to clean up after the kids and stuff. I guess there's a perk to that, but yeah, not nice.
And I guess also the people in the back seat aren't paying for the car.
Right.
So why don't you show me the front seat? And
Okay.
I think that's where maybe things get a little bit nicer.
Right, we gotta get in and close the door before this chime absolutely kills us. That's the worst part of owning any sort of GM vehicle, I think, is the chime.
Dude, it has OnStar.
Okay.
It's not a Honda.
Yeah.
Everything here is General Motors. Even the software is like GM stuff. Stay in demo mode. It does say Honda though, but then it'll say OnStar.
Yep.
And I mean, that's what you get when you just literally phone it in.
Right.
So we have to give Honda a 0 effort for trying to build a good electric car. That goes to GM. And then Honda styled the outside.
Yeah, but the inside just feels totally GM.
So is that a good thing or a bad thing? I still haven't wrapped my head around it after all these years.
It depends. I mean, this is the car, funny enough, that a lot of people choose if they like GM but want CarPlay. Because now with all GM EVs, CarPlay is no more. But this is an EV made by GM that has CarPlay.
And Android Auto.
And Android Auto, yes.
Yeah. So that's kind of nice.
Yes. But then you don't get lane centering. So it's just...
Well, we'll get to that at the ADAS portion, but that's the real fatal flaw of this vehicle.
Right.
Is no lane centering. But I think from the cabin perspective, so I'm going to just ignore the whole GM. We get it. It's a GM.
Yeah.
It's not a Honda, but it is a Honda. This is just the crappiest, scratchiest material ever.
This is wild to me because the only Prologue I've driven is the top spec. And I was like, oh, this is kind of a nice place to be, like driving around. But then I was like, oh, no lane centering. But this mid-spec feels like there's a base model, you're saying?
There's an EX, and this is the volume model. This is the one most people buy.
Because I can't imagine anything being more base than this.
Right, that's really bad. This is just a sea of plastic. It's really depressing. There's no other way to say it than there's no real thought put into like trying to make things look nice. It's just gray, and then darker gray. And Alyssa's peeling stuff off the back of this thing.
It's like if you have a Silverado as your work truck and then you have this as your daily and you're like, you love your basic Silverado-ness, like just work truck vibes.
Well, if you want CarPlay and GM products, those are your options. The Silverado work truck still has CarPlay. By the way, the seats, it's the same basic seat structure as GM stuff, and it's not bad.
Yeah.
Like I fit fine. I feel like I could do a long distance in here. The seat's not ultra supportive or anything, but it's just quite nice. The car's wide, which is cool. So you do feel away. I can, put my elbow up. You've got some breathing room. And tell us about this whole steering wheel thing, because this feels very premium.
It's a huge feeling steering wheel for the size of the car, and I think it feels really nice. Like it's not a bad car to drive, which is again, you have to drive it because there's no lane centering, but I do miss the heads-up display, just seeing especially the plastic cutout where it kind of would be.
Right.
But
and to get that, you've got to spend $57,000 for the top trim.
Yeah, you really got to lease this.
Yeah.
But otherwise, GM stuff. And
walk us through the software real quick. You've got a couple different menus with this button, right?
Yeah.
So you
can put the map in front of you, which is nice because then someone else can fiddle around with that mediocre display. But and then you have the entire menu for your driver's assistance, which is funny.
Right. So it does have adaptive cruise control.
Yep.
And it does have a lane departure. So it will like ping pong you in the lane,
right,
but it will not actively steer unless you hit a line.
Yeah.
So you can go down the highway and get pulled over for drunk driving, or you have to manually drive.
Right.
And in 2025, that is just an egregious oversight for what the competition is doing. Nissan ARIYA launches as standard at almost $8,000 less than this car with lane centering.
Right.
And that's a Nissan.
Was that Honda not picking the option when they were selecting all the options, or was that GM saying you can't have it?
Well, probably a little bit of both, because Super Cruise is such an expensive sensor suite. You need to put the thing in the wheel, you need all the other stuff. And even on the ZDX, which is the nice version, you have to spec up for the Type S to get lane centering. And so it's just a limitation of what GM offers, probably, and due to cost. But they should have just done Super Cruise on everything. It's $25.
Meanwhile, the Bolt had Super Cruise.
Only in the top spec.
Yeah, cheap car.
Yeah. Walk us through this really quick, because this isn't terrible, and it also has reasonable route planning.
Yeah, but it's just, I don't know, this feels 2015 to me. And Google stuff, of course, which has, route planning. And that's why, well, that's funny. That's GM's reason on why they won't give you CarPlay, is because Apple CarPlay won't do route planning.
Okay, but it does in Fords.
Yeah, so there's that argument. I don't know. But it's fairly basic. Like, it's not that hard to use, which is nice. But it's also not, like, fully customizable. Like, I can't put anything I want on each side. And same with here. Like, this is just your music. What if I want my, like, efficiency figures here and something else here? You just don't have much customization, which would kind of bother me. But again, it's simplified. So
another thing that's interesting, and we'll show the route plan in a second to Las Vegas, is you have a power button in here, which is totally different than the GM equivalents.
Yeah, which really confused me at first. Like, grabbing the GM key, just my mind was like, okay, now I'm driving a GM. And then I get in here, foot on the brake, nothing happened. Yeah. And then you have to put,
Yeah, you've got a start button. So let me show you the route planning in this, Jordan, because this is actually a good system.
Yeah.
And I think one of the key benefits to buying a Prologue over an ARIYA is this function right here. So I can hit search. Let's do the Las Vegas test. It's like 800 miles almost to the nose. Las, L-A-S, Vegas. I got to fly there. I may as well just drive in this thing. So let's see how long it takes for it to figure it out. So it's 11 hours, 32 minutes. Boom, charging stops are done. That's it.
Yep.
Great route planning.
Now, 16 hours and 20 minutes.
Right. So it's 4 hours, 13 minutes of charging. Now that is a problem. Like this 1 hour charging stop.
Oh my gosh.
In a Chinese car, that would have been 0 to 80 like 10 times over.
Right.
So I have some issues with how it chose those chargers. We also have to give this car a little bit of slack. It's only got 39 miles on it. It's completely fresh. And so, we'll just cut it slack there. But you hit start, and Jordan, not only will it give you a route plan, it will automatically precondition to chargers, and it can't use that charger. Actually, no, it can, because that's a Magic Dock.
Oh, right.
So Honda We'll get into it in the charging section, but this is not yet available for supercharging access.
Yeah.
Unless the superchargers have Magic Dock, which that is one of those sites. And it shows it. So I think it's not bad. I really think people can get to their destinations with this. This is going to be a first-time EV for many people, and that's totally fine. Also have to give it props for, I think, because this is so laggy and old school and kind of nasty feeling, having physical climate controls is a really nice backup because I wouldn't want to use this screen.
A lot of people love that factor of this. I even found a Reddit thread of someone comparing these two cars, and they were like, physical climate controls in the Prologue is why I bought it.
Okay, and I
like,
mean,
wow.
it's interesting because most people who want physical climate controls, which is like most auto journalists and stuff, haven't driven Tesla Rivian.
Right. Which is like the epitome of doing climate pretty well.
Right. They probably drive Taycans, which have the worst digital climate control.
Such a good car, such bad climate.
Yep. And so anyway, this is like nice. You've got physical buttons, no cooled seats. You've got to spec up to the top trim to get that. But at least this has heated seats, no heated steering wheel in the volume model, the Touring.
Yeah, I feel like this is the volume model, but you just have to spec up to the higher one. Otherwise, you're just going to be like, this is not a nice car.
It just gets so expensive so fast.
Yeah, unless you can work a really good lease deal, which totally does vary by dealership. I mean, sometimes they really want to move inventory, so.
Let me show you why the Ariya is
A more premium experience.
It's actually not.
Okay.
Let's go. Welcome to the inside of the Nissan ARIYA.
This feels quieter.
It's way quieter. No question. Yeah, you're totally right. This is nice.
This is nice.
Okay, first thing, narrower.
Yeah.
So I feel way closer to you. Don't like that.
Yep. Let's put this down.
But it's still got two cup holders.
And this even feels a bit more hefty and nicer.
So this car is a base ARIYA comparing to a mid-spec Honda, in a sense. This is over $10,000 less expensive than that car. And I have heated rear seats.
Wow, yeah.
And I have like styled texture. I don't know if you can show this right here, Alyssa, but this material.
It's textured wood.
Yeah,
like
textured, probably fake, who knows, but it's definitely, like way nicer than that grainy black plastic. There's a bunch of accessories that you can put here if you wanted to. And I've got like nice gloss black window switches on that side right there, and inlet with stitching, and yeah, it's all black, but it's nice.
The back door of this feels nicer than the front door of that, which is crazy.
It's crazy how Nissan has somehow built a nicer cabin experience back here, which I didn't actually remember. I don't know if I've sat in the back of an ARIYA in a long time.
Right.
Certainly not a base one.
Yeah.
And this is nice.
Yeah, I would prefer the glass roof from a visual perspective, but headroom is nice maybe because of that. It's gone.
Right. I would be totally fair if we had a glass roof to glass roof, and I wouldn't.
But you have tested the back seat of a glass roof one, and you did point out the headroom wasn't great. So
Oh, I did?
Yeah, we
You
do
watched
know.
the video?
Yeah,
I
we
don't
do know that.
Okay, so they both have headroom issues in the back, glass roof to glass roof. But yeah, dude, this is nice. Still plenty of room behind me. I'm actually surprised with how nice it is.
Yeah, same.
All right, front seat.
I
Anything left?
do feel like these switches still do feel like 2007.
Those heated seat switches,
Yeah,
but that's
yeah.
just Nissan in general.
That's Nissan.
They're stuck in 2007.
My gosh.
Welcome to the inside of the Nissan ARIYA. Let me shut the door. I'm going to put my phone on the wireless phone charger, which your car does not have.
Right. Mine did have a pocket for it, but no charger in that one.
That's correct.
Wait, is this 2005?
Okay, this is really where the ARIYA falls down. Before we get into the software, though, I just want to commend Nissan on a couple things. Being the base car, they have tried to make things look at least more interesting than the Honda, I think. They're still, stitching through here. This is really kind of a nasty material, no question.
Kind of reflective.
Head-up display as
nice.
Standard, which is really nice. A much smaller, much sportier wheel, which we'll drive them up each in a minute, but from my experience, or from my impression, this just leads to a more driver-focused experience. I really like this little inlay right here at the bottom of the wheel, which is funny.
Right, yeah, usually that's at the top.
But that's okay. You can know when you're at top dead down. And the door cards feel even nicer than the Prologue, dude. I think it's pretty ugly in my impression, that kind of swooping look, and I almost prefer the simplicity of the Honda compared to this. But I have to give Nissan props for trying to do something interesting with this center bar here. Having the volume knob right there is really, really nice volume knob. Give that a try.
Oh, that is nice. That might be better than the VinFast.
Wow, that's high praise right there. And, I've got this whole center console here, Jordan, that with the touch of a button, I can slide.
Wow, that's
Why
cool.
I would need it to slide, I'm not sure. But I've got this.
Oh, hidden drawer.
Yes, and that.
So 2 glove boxes. They did the R2 thing.
Yeah, how
Nice.
cool is that? And this keeps going. I don't know why you would ever need this to go back so far. Is there stuff up here? Oh yeah, 2 USB ports.
They do have a USB-A port.
Oh.
So they are still in 2005.
I hate that. But some people, you know, the old people in the comments, oh, keep USB-A forever.
I'm keeping my cable forever, yeah. It's a good cable.
Okay, I mean, like the seats feel equally unimpressive.
Yeah, it's fine.
It does tell me what direction I'm hitting a seat in case I'm a complete idiot and don't know how to adjust a seat in a car.
Only power on the driver's side. Mine's all manual.
You didn't pay for the car.
That's right.
And I've got 2 cup holders with this really cheap.
Yeah, you want to hide that away.
Yeah,
That
but
looks
that's
better.
nice. That's like Volvo.
Yeah, that looks way better.
And center console with no storage.
No. That's because it moves.
Oh, okay. And the phone charger's there.
That's why they give you this.
I have one last remedy to your problems before we get into the terrible software, and that is this completely customizable gauge cluster.
That's cool.
So first thing I can do not only is look at my all-wheel drive torque output, which we'll get to when we drive it. When I say this is a completely base car, it's a base all-wheel drive version.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it does have that option. It tells me my battery capacity in terms of health, so I can see degradation over time.
Just like Leafs.
But we're only recommending leasing these, so do whatever you want to the battery.
Full charge.
Doesn't matter. It goes back to Nissan. It's their problem. It will also tell you how long it will take to charge. And you can choose like, hey, I'm plugging into a 7.2 kilowatt charger as an example, and then it will tell me, hey, it's going to take 6 hours to full charge.
That's really cool.
Yeah, so you can plan ahead for some stuff. There's some really thoughtful features in here. I've also got all of my Pro Pilot Assist because this has lane centering as standard.
Amazing.
That is like one of the most important things to have for even just like back road driving or highway driving is just have the car stay in the lane. Like, okay, I get that neither of these cars are Tesla FSD level, but just basic driver assistance is a requirement in 2025.
Yeah, it really helps.
And it's standard on this car and not available at all in a $60,000 Honda.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. Totally crazy. Inexcusable. And then you've got just like other stuff here. There's some other things like I've got great efficiency information on here. And I can even go, I'm trying to remember exactly how to do it, but yeah, I can change the entire view around.
Wow.
So if you wanted a more futuristic view or a more classic view with the round gauges, you can choose that. It's still pretty ugly no matter what you do, and it's pretty busy, which is kind of the opposite of that car, which doesn't even show you state of charge.
Right. Yeah, here I could see miles and state of charge. That's crazy.
Right, and it's right there, and I've got 39% and 73 miles of predicted range. This is the small battery car. We'll get into that in a little bit. This is where it all falls apart, Jordan.
Yeah.
Would you like to give everyone your first impression? Have you ever tried this system?
No. And I don't like it. Oh my gosh.
Wait for it to load. There we go.
Oh my gosh.
Try to go to Vegas.
You just have to be really patient and not, yeah. Okay, destinations by Google, I'm guessing.
Yeah, so it's not the same as Honda, which uses like a Google entire
Right.
OS. It's suggesting it.
Well, like in sitting over here, you can see there's like a half inch between where your finger touches the screen and the screen behind
Oh,
it.
here we go. Searching for optimal route with charging stations. So does it do route planning?
You would hope so.
All right, so it's searching. Let's see what happens. We just
Okay.
did it in the Honda. It was bam,
Yeah.
told you where you needed to stop.
Now you're,
Now we still don't know where we need to stop.
oh my gosh.
Will it figure it out? It's thinking. Gas
Gas
station.
stations is a hotkey. That's good.
Why would that be in their electric car?
Oh my gosh. No, they just copied and pasted other software.
They
over
still don't know. Unable to find charging stations within range of the current route. Jordan, I know there's a charging station at the next exit.
Yeah. This doesn't. Oh no.
806 miles to destination. The current battery level may not be enough. We're at 39% on their small battery car, but it may not be enough to make it. It's not a definite.
Right. Okay, so I want to find a charging station.
Oh, great. You can go to a charge point level 2. You can go to an EV Go.
This tells me one plug, nothing about speed.
Right? Try the EV Go. That's because EV Go and Nissan have a thing. So
Add to route, I guess.
calculating.
Oh my gosh.
So how would a first-time EV driver know how to get anywhere in this car?
They'd take this back and get a Rogue.
Plus, this car will not precondition on the way.
Yep.
And which means your charging times in the winter are going to be severely elongated compared to the Honda. And Jordan, I have to mention, if you wanted to even have the battery not be a frozen brick, I'm pretty sure I have to go into settings, EV settings, battery cooling assist, enhanced cooling. I've just turned that on. That was not on by default.
Wow.
And somewhere else, there's a heating setting. Don't remember where.
2 different places.
2 different places. There's one thing here, one thing there. And so the heating setting just gets you off of a frozen battery.
Right.
But it still will only charge at like 30 kilowatts in the winter. So the thing is, Nissan knows how bad of an experience they gave to early Leaf owners and said, let's just do that again.
Yep. Okay.
So that is where this car completely falls down, in my opinion.
So if you buy a Leaf, you'll be like, wow, this feels really familiar.
Well, this must feel like the future to Leaf owners.
Right. These
Then you've got
capacitive buttons.
These drive me insane.
Yeah.
Because
Well, the whole thing moves. And yeah, when we saw this in the showroom, like when it was first unveiled, I was like, oh no.
that was like a long time ago, too.
Yeah.
And then it took a long time for it to come into production.
Oh my gosh, I hate this.
They feel terrible. They're laggy in response. It's just like a little hammer back there that just doesn't work.
Yep.
But I do like the little bronze stripe across.
Okay, so that's redeeming factor. Yeah.
But certainly, if you're not going to do climate integration as well as Rivian and Tesla, don't try to mess with any of this and just stick to physical controls.
Right. Yeah, that's what that car shows us. This is the nicest hazard light button I think I've ever used.
Oh, wow. That's lovely.
We're finding silver linings.
You can make it go so fast.
This is just really rough, man.
So thankfully it has Apple CarPlay and Android
Okay.
Auto, which means you never have to use this.
Yep.
But they haven't changed anything in the last 10 plus years.
No.
It's so egregiously bad.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know what they were thinking.
They really focus on the animations, which also slow everything down.
Right, it makes it laggy.
Yeah.
With all that said, let's get into range and charging.
Okay.
Jordan, I am unleashing the charging port of the Nissan ARIYA.
Wow.
They did something pretty nice here. No dangly flaps.
Yep.
Just 2 little doors that I can open up. I wonder if I can hit the bottom one. Nope. So
No.
unlike BMW,
Right.
there should be an extra little plastic connector between those 2 so that they both open. We can forgive that. What we can't forgive, Jordan, is the just about 7 kilowatt onboard charging capacity. It's like 32 amps.
32 amps is really bad in this day and age.
That's terrible, especially because you can get this with an 87 kilowatt hour battery pack, which is huge, which means AC charging is going to take a really long time.
Yep.
And that is, again, another egregious oversight.
Yep.
From a DC charging perspective, while this isn't going to be the fastest road tripper out there, it will do 130 kilowatts, which, again, for the use case of most people who probably just live at home and charge on AC, for the occasional top up is going to be okay. But as we always say, the curve matters more than the peak. And we already have a testing video on this showing the charging performance. We're actually going to test this car with the small battery, but we're thinking big battery for big battery here. It's about 40 minutes, 10 to 80, which is about twice as long as the competition
Yeah,
shows.
that's really bad.
Ioniq 5, EV6 are 18 minutes. And the new ones are what, 20 minutes?
Yeah.
Something like that. And that's not far off the price category. So if you do a bunch of DC charging, neither of these cars are right for you, but especially not the ARIYA. Thankfully though, it does kind of just sit at 80 kilowatts for most of the bulk. So it charges pretty nicely to 80 and then trails off above that. It's not the end of the world, but again, we have friends that own these cars. We have a lot of people here in Colorado that I see at charging stations. The winter charging performance can double or triple that time because there's no preconditioning.
Yeah, it's really not a good road tripper. But you're right, I see these everywhere. Even on the way up here, I saw like 5 of them.
Right, and so people probably just charge at home or they have no lives and sit at chargers. Maybe they don't want to choose the no live lifestyle.
Well, they couldn't find the charger, so they were so thrilled when they finally found a charger.
They ain't leaving.
They were okay sitting there for a while.
Tell me about what you got going on here with the Prologue.
Well, you notice the charge port locations are different. You have technically a better charge port for Tesla chargers.
Right, because the front passenger or the rear driver side is what natively works with the Tesla
V3s
superchargers.
anyways, yeah.
Which this car, I should mention, already has Tesla supercharger access. I can charge at most superchargers. You can't.
This is coming soon.
A couple months.
June, which is a year later than it should have been, but whatever. I do have a dangly flap here.
That's terrible.
So that's pretty disappointing.
But thankfully no power like the Blazer has.
Right, yeah. If this was a power charge port, I would have hit it a while ago. You could have presented your whole car and then it would have opened. But peak speed's 150, so they are better than yours, but not much. 150 is still not a good number for a peak speed right now.
How about your onboard charger? 48 amps, right?
Yeah, that's like 11.2 kilowatts. Yeah. So that's totally fine.
Totally fine. And that's like the right onboard charger. Yeah, absolutely.
Onboard charger normality, yeah.
Absolutely. The 150 kilowatt charging sounds great, Jordan, but there's a real problem with charging this car. Do you know what it is?
Low voltage.
Low voltage. What the heck was GM and Honda thinking? Honda agreed to this because they went for the car.
Right.
This is one of the lowest voltage new cars on sale, which means in order to get 150 kilowatts, I'm going to get technical, you need 500 amps. And it's going to sit there for a while. So you'll overheat the Tesla supercharging handles.
Yep.
When it does get access one day. And you have to choose the high power EA stations that output 500 amps.
Which, who's going to know to do that?
No one will know to do that. So what's the real problem is when you go use a charge point station or use a 150 kilowatt station, they're typically like 200 to 350 amp rated, and you're going to be way under the nameplate rating of the charger. So if it's a 200 kilowatt charger, like our office charger at Powerhouse is a 180 kilowatt charger. This might get 65 to 70 kilowatts.
Yeah, we're still in that realm where people are going to take this to a charger, read the label, and they'll be like, oh, cool, 350. And they're going to see...
They're going to see very, very little. Now, the maximum this could take would be 150, but you need a lot of amps to do it.
Yeah.
And that's a real problem with this battery pack. The one thing I will give you, though, Jordan, is this is 87 kilowatt hours usable. This is 89 kilowatt hours usable.
Yeah, they even quote like 85, but
yes,
the Ultium stuff's always different. And what's going on with the Ultium nomenclature, by the way?
Ultium's dead. Can't call it Ultium anymore.
No, because they called it Ultium at the Cadillac Escalade of it.
What?
Yeah.
I thought Ultium died.
I don't know. That's what I thought too. So I'm really confused there, but
I'm sticking with Ultium then. I like it. I think Ultium made sense.
It's a great name. Yeah. Yeah.
It's like it really worked. But so yeah, like you mentioned with GM stuff, which this is, they'll quote a number and then we pull way more capacity out of the battery.
Interesting.
So like they'll say 205 kilowatt hours for Silverado EV or like, you know, Escalade, whatever, and we get like 217.
Yeah.
This, they say 85. I've pulled almost 90 out of this pack.
Under promise, over deliver.
Yeah, and that's across multiple different vehicles, all with this battery pack. It's honestly a pretty stout drivetrain system, fairly reliable, like no major issues. And, you know, I think it's totally serviceable for day-to-day driving. The occasional fast charging top up. Yeah, it's not a charging monster. Neither of these cars are. I would probably choose the Prologue for charging over this. Not only because it has better AC charging, but also the preconditioning makes a huge difference. And just that extra little bump of 150 kilowatts is nice.
Yeah, it's just road tripping this is going to be great. If you are a more nerd-minded mentality person, you can find your own chargers and do your own preconditioning with
no
the
one's
yo-yo
gonna do
effect.
that.
But
yeah.
no, you have to be the nerd driving the Ariya.
Yeah, this is actually way better suited.
Do it for you.
So big props to Honda for actually tying in the EV route planning and charging thing. Nissan, you've been able to do this for years. What the fuck?
Range?
Range. Oh, range. How far can your car go?
283 miles, something like that.
According to EPA?
Yeah.
But that's a two-wheel drive?
Yeah. Well, yeah. And then all-wheel drive with the bigger wheels brings it down to below 300. Then you can do over 300, like 306 or something with two-wheel drive. I mean, it's really hard with the EPA numbers. We don't know exactly what to get. But
right. Well, we'll have to run them in our range test.
Close to 300 miles is
same here.
The range.
They're close enough.
That's pretty normal, I think. You still have the people who are like, I'm not going to buy one until it's 500 miles of range, but I think we keep seeing 300-mile cars come out.
Yeah.
I think people are realizing that's just pretty normal.
I don't think most people, I mean, you and I both drive more than the average person. If the car can do realistically 200 miles of highway driving for like 90% of my use cases, especially for vehicles like this that you're leasing that are not going to be your road trip vehicle because most leases have mileage limitations anyway, I think, you know, both have plenty of full charge range. And if you don't have home charging, then the clear choice here is the Honda, just due to the preconditioning function for relying on public charging. This, if you live in a cold climate, not possible at all.
Yeah, our friend Lacey has really complained about charging.
She bought the Ariya in the summertime. It was great. She's like, I can charge everywhere. My life is amazing. Yeah. Winter comes, she's like, what the heck is going on with this piece of crap? It takes 3 hours to charge it. Now I'm like, well, no preconditioning. So that's a real problem. But in terms of range, do you have the figures on this on hand?
I think so. It's
high 200s.
High 200s, but this does have the difference where it's 2 battery capacity variations.
Yeah, we should bring that up. This is 65 kilowatt hours usable or 87 kilowatt hours usable versus just 85 quoted on that one.
Yeah.
So this does offer a cheaper, smaller battery option, which actually is what this car is.
And that's just a hair over 200 miles of range.
Yeah, I actually think that's fine.
It's fine for so many people. I mean, we have people using Leafs right now.
Yeah.
And they're totally fine.
And when we get into the numbers, you'll see why maybe you do want the small battery. We'll get into that at the end. I think we should drive both of them, and let's start by driving the Honda.
Yep.
Because the thing that I like about this car, and you'll experience here, because I know it's been a minute since you've been in one of these, is it's just relaxed. It's like an American land yacht. The steering is super slow. It's zero sporty cred. Like on a scale of 1 to 10 of sportiness, this is -5. But I think a lot of people don't drive sporty. They just want to cruise. And this is perfect for that. So let's go for a drive.
All right, got my GM AC cranking in here.
That's the one thing they know how to do, is General Motors has the best air conditioning out of everyone.
But I would also feel like I would just want cooled seats too.
How much does your wheel turn lock to lock?
Let's find out here.
Because whenever I drive one of these, I feel like I'm constantly...
You're always moving about, yeah.
Yeah, so that's one. Oh my gosh,
wow.
So it's almost 4 turns lock to lock.
Yeah, 3.5. Oh my gosh. If you're trying to do one of those tight maneuvers, oh my God.
That's what I feel like every time I pull out of my driveway or whatever. I'm just, because the first like half of your steering does nothing. Look how much lock you have on right now. In the Model 3, you'd be sideways.
In the Cybertruck, we would have already turned around. Oh my gosh. You can't do that whole like 9 and 3 in this.
No.
You gotta just move it about.
You know, it teaches really good wheel control.
Yeah.
You'll really learn hand placement. Could you go full throttle, please? Could you go full throttle, please?
Still full.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Not fast.
Not fast.
And this is the all-wheel drive one.
Right.
So the front-wheel drive would be even slower, Jordan.
Yeah.
And I've driven the front-wheel drive one, and it's slow.
That would be almost unusable. This
I'm
feels
happy
like...
to report. I'm sorry, but I'm happy to report for the 2025 model year, they got like an extra 8 horsepower and 12 torques.
Yeah.
It's something like that.
It went from 288 to 300 horsepower, and it went from 333 to 350 torque. So a very small little improvement there, which is nice.
Notice.
But Nissan picked up on that, because if you go to Nissan's website, you can compare it to every other car, which is funny.
So just see how the Ariya loses?
Yeah. I love the Ariya. We'll get to that later, but more power.
Okay,
but
so
this is... Yeah.
It's not that quiet in here, but it's also not that loud. I'm pretty impressed with the overall, like, zero wind noise.
Yeah.
Little bit of road noise coming in. And the suspension is, I hate to use this term, but fine. In the sense where it's not sporty in any way. It's not ultra Cadillac lyric squishy, but it's just a nice balance of, okay, there's some tuning that Honda wanted in this car in the sense where it's a little bit sportier. I still think that right there, the Equinox EV drives better.
Yep.
But that's a little bit smaller anyway. This is built really on Blazer.
Yep.
And it seems pretty relaxed. What's your impression while just cruising around in it?
I mean, yeah, it's totally fine. That's really the summary. It's an easy car to daily drive. I don't think there's anything special. There's also not anything that really offends me, because you're not driving looking at all the plastic usually. You're just like looking at the road, and you care about how the steering wheel feels.
And the view out the front is kind of cool, because you do get this long hood vibe.
Yeah.
You get this wide vibe. It does feel like a bigger car than it is on the road, which is almost luxurious in a sense.
It has the high waist, and so you do just feel like you're like laser focused out. And
and you can sit low. Like the seating position's good. I've been driving this car the last day or so, and I've actually really enjoyed it. And you're demonstrating something super important in this car, and we'll go all the way to a stop that the Ariya does not have.
Really strong one-pedal driving. Really slow accelerate. Like the 60 to 0 is much faster.
Well, yeah. I think the only car that's faster 0 to 60 is a Plaid, or like a Sapphire or something.
But the one-pedal driving, like 60 to 0, is like hilarious.
One-pedal driving is extremely strong in this car.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of concerns with new buyers in one-pedal driving. The one thing you don't have to worry about is the brake lights do come on. Mm-hmm. And if the battery is cold or you're at high state of charge where it cannot accept a lot of regen, it will actually blend in friction brakes.
Right.
So whether you choose to use one pedal driving or not, you actually get the same efficiency in this car, Jordan, because the brake pedal will blend in regen anyway.
Yeah.
And for a lot of new drivers, they can just choose how the car responds, and I love that they get all of the freedom of choice with no downside from an efficiency standpoint.
And you can adjust. I mean, a lot of people, like you said, when they get an EV and they do one pedal driving, they make themselves sick because they just off throttle too much. You can lower it to normal or even off. You can work your way up to that high level.
It's a good point. EVs don't make you car sick. Shitty drivers do. It's the drivers that are always doing this, which is literally what Uber targets to have on their rideshare app.
Yep.
They're like, can you have the worst throttle pedal control in history? Congratulations, you're an Uber driver. Jordan, I want you to back out of this driveway with a cool shifter, by the way, column mounted. Love that.
GM shifter.
Yeah, show us how much work you have to do behind the wheel.
Oh my gosh. And then I gotta.
It's so stupid.
I really do wish we had the 360 camera though. That's a huge reason for me to just figure out lease magic on the higher trims.
The one thing I will say is though, there is sometimes the screen won't let you do things while you're driving. You can click this and hit like disable lockout. I think as long as this seatbelt is buckled, and then it gives you almost full functionality.
And now let you type in a destination and stuff.
Yeah, rather than using the voice stuff, which like works somewhat % of the time. You can also ask it what state of charge you're at. Only if you're logged into your account though.
Oh my gosh.
You're gonna let me drive this beast?
You know that chime can actually be made 3 times louder too?
I know, because I just watched your, what video was it? The Optic.
It was painful.
Yeah, that was really funny. I love that you hate that so much because it doesn't really bother me.
Right.
All right, I'm going to pull out in front of this car and I'm floored. Come on. Come on. Let's go. And then it rock and rolls. A lot of traction control intervention. And the other thing is this car does not have a sport mode, Jordan.
Yeah.
You have to spec the Elite.
And then it does feel kind of fast, I will say.
When you're wide open, nothing changes, but it's all about that mid-throttle acceleration. So I have to commend Honda GM here for this because I love the seating position in this car. Elbows perfectly for me. I've got a nice high waist that I can put my arm up on. Steering wheel is big and nice, smooth grain texture with nice stitching on the inside. It's a really, like what I'm feeling and touching and experiencing right now is awesome.
Yep.
And it's really a great place to sit and drive. And to your point, that's the main problem. If I put on cruise control right now, how do you do that? This one, set, come on, there we go, set. And then I put on lane centering. It is. Let me show you how good the lane centering is in this car. So it ping-pongs around a little bit. So I'll even get like a little bit off here. And you can see it's pushing a little bit.
Yeah.
And then it's going to go this way and we'll boom, 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 boom. How, I can't make a big enough deal. And some people are like, I've driven my whole life. Why do I need lane centering? It's 2025. Technology has come out to make life so much better. You don't use rotary phones anymore. Get with the times. Lane centering is so important in a new vehicle purchase.
Yep.
And what's nice is you don't have to use it all the time. You can drive when you want to drive. You can have the car take the mundane task of staying in the lane if you want. Cows.
Just give us the option.
Yeah, just give us the option. And I think this is a huge miss of the Prologue. And I can never forgive them for this. Other than that, though, fairly quiet, fairly refined. The body motions are all controlled. I've driven this car aggressively. I've driven this car in day-to-day driving. Other than the extremely slow steering rack, which infuriates me, the ride feel is nice. Adaptive cruise control, huge distance. It was looking ahead there. Just touching the brakes to slow it down a little bit. And in general, I think it's just a good daily cruiser. Like if you really can get over the no lane centering thing, which many of our viewers will, and they'll say I always make a big deal of it. I cannot stress enough how important it is to have good driver assistance. I had to go a full turn. That is a complete like lock to lock in a Model Y, essentially, like all the way maxed out.
That's crazy.
If you can get over all that, when you're just sitting on the highway in this car though, man, is it a nice place to be.
Yep.
Pretty good sound system as well. It's not great, but it's totally serviceable. Throw the CarPlay up here and you're ready to rock. I actually do like the way this car drives. It's just relaxed and it doesn't encourage you to drive fast. It hates it. It's just very nice for the day-to-day. I'm excited for you to drive the Ariya now because it has, well, I won't spoil it, but a completely different character than this. Ariya.
Ariya.
Just before you get going, there's a couple modes here.
Well, I went to shift like this.
You have actually different drive modes: Sport, Standard, Eco, and Snow. So I'm going to start you in Standard. They're both all-wheel drive models.
Yep.
And this has E-Step. So instead of one pedal driving, it has just enhanced regen, but it doesn't bring you to a stop.
So it brings you to a step.
It brings you to but the Leaf has one pedal driving.
What?
So they went backwards.
But then there's D and B.
Right, and when you have E-Step on, those don't make a difference.
Okay.
So you can choose drive, a little bit of regen in B, E-Step, which is all of it. Are you confused yet?
Do they have a manual for this?
And then the brake pedal, because it's not brake by wire, pulls away every time E-Step comes.
Oh.
And
man.
it's a bit like the EQS situation where it falls away from you.
Oh boy. Okay.
The old school EQS.
Great.
Shifter's kind of ugly, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't really like that.
Just
Oh,
feels.
when you have to do the button to go to reverse.
Yes.
Okay.
And you can feel it. The motor's rocking every time we did that
that's
too.
interesting.
That was not well tuned.
But immediately feels like we just stepped into a GTR compared to that Prologue. Like this feels
Give us the steering
a
ratio
bit
test.
tighter. Yeah. So this.
Hugely different. So it's basically 2.5 turns lock to lock.
Yeah. So a full half turn shaved off each direction.
That's a
nice.
big difference.
That's nice.
And I have you just in standard mode with E-Step on. Yeah, there's a giant window sticker here.
Don't you love that? Okay. So even standard
Way
mode feels
faster.
really nice.
Now, we do have to just make a little caveat here, Jordan. It's the same drivetrain that you could get in the big battery Ariya,
Yep.
but it weighs a little bit less because it's the small battery.
So this is the sport enthusiast model.
This is the enthusiast spec, which they give you all the power.
Right. Is the voltage different?
I don't think so, actually, because they
you
both
know
hit
what-
130 kilowatts.
Okay, because with EV9 driving, the smaller battery does give you less power or more power.
More power, because it's a little bit higher voltage.
Yeah.
Which is funny. But no, it's about the same. I've driven the all-wheel drive one of
Yep.
these, and my impressions are the same.
Yep.
It's really a small difference. Instantly, though, I can tell it's a bit louder from a road noise perspective.
Yeah, I'm hearing and feeling just a tiny bit more.
It's definitely sportier.
Yeah.
Oh, way worse over the train track. And we did hit it at
It was
30.
30, yeah.
Yeah, not the same size.
Yeah.
but, so, to me, this car is just much more athletic, but I'll let you share your impressions.
Well, so I hate having to look at the drive mode selector because there's no way to find it. Everything feels
but
like
at least you have the option.
right. At least you have the option, but everything feels the same. So there's no way to focus on driving while doing this. But then it has lane centering, so I guess
Yeah, so you're in eco mode, right?
still plenty of get up and go. Yeah.
I'm sure they don't limit power based off of mode. So I'm
Yeah.
going to put you into sport mode here.
Okay.
And the sound comes on a little bit,
Oh.
which is annoying.
Yep. Hate that.
But it's not like a super involved sound.
Right. Yeah. Definitely a bit twitchier in the throttle. Wow.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Excited to see what you think here.
Not crazy different, but
From my side,
Uh-huh.
way faster.
yeah. I mean, it's the very bottom part. Like once you're up in the throttle, it's not.
Under 5 seconds, 0 to 60, dude.
Wow. I
Isn't it
hate that
4.9?
noise. Is that noise?
Just in sport mode.
And then it's mandatory in sport mode?
Don't know, but
yeah.
no one's going to drive this in sport mode.
No. Everyone's going to do standard, maybe eco. Oh, it's so nice and quiet when it is quiet.
Yeah, so I think this is where we start to see the biggest differences between the cars. Here's a Mach-E. We could have included that in the comparison as well. Can we borrow your car? This, the Honda, while it's certainly less focused on driver assistance tech, has a way better nav system.
Yep.
And this is way sportier in the driving experience. So I think if you really are just going to charge it home most of the time and you value a good driving experience, why do I have to hit 9 buttons to stop the nav? Then this is way more fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I would have to agree. But just as a around town daily, this would be so fine. Like you said, CarPlay or Android Auto, then you're happy.
Yeah, I would prefer to drive this around town. It's a little bit narrower, easier to park, I would imagine. Just feels more light on its feet. And in general, a way more sporty driving experience. Clearly, the character of the cars couldn't be more different. And to me, this feels more in line with how a Japanese vehicle should feel,
Yeah.
which is somehow it feels like a lightweight compared to the Prologue. I don't actually know the weight differences on the cars. They can't be that far off, but this feels athletic and agile, and it's sporty, and I took it around the on-ramp earlier, and I was like getting some opposite lock, and I was really happy with it. And you have driver assistance with the capacitive wheel. Let's show everyone what happens when you don't touch the wheel. Oh, there is a car behind us. We'll find a good spot, and I'll show everyone when I drive it. But like from that type of stuff, this is a no-brainer, I think.
Right, it's so easy. I'll give them that. But I don't know. Steering wheel does feel a bit like. How do you feel about this texture stuff?
Pebbled leather.
Yeah,
hate it.
Yeah, it gets really dirty.
Yeah, it just never looks good over time. But on a lease, who cares?
Yep, give it back.
It goes back. The first thing we are going to do is go to settings, VDC off, drive, sport mode, and wheel spin. Right up to the speed limit. Now we're done with that. We'll go to standard. We'll go to turn everything on, and I think I can just force traction control on by going, oh, it just says unavailable, of course, so I can go there. Now I can go lane centering, right? Boom, boom, locked in. Done.
Amazing.
So this has 2 levels of driver assistance available. Either in the standard car, you get this, which you have to keep like your hand on the wheel, and it doesn't do like auto lane changes automatically or anything like that. The Prologue offers none of this. I just want to remind everyone. But then the high level trim of this car will have ProPilot Assist 2.0, which we need to run in the hogback.
Right, because that does lane changing and more stuff.
Yeah, I think also hands-free eye tracking. I forget exactly what comes in there, but that's only in the Platinum model, which feels expensive for this car still.
Yeah.
Even with that said, the Platinum model, one of these with the big battery and everything, is still about the same price as the mid-spec Prologue.
Wow.
And again, I'm not seeing where the extra money for the Honda is coming from. Dimensionally, it might be larger, but that's not a selling point. The cabin in this feels roughly the same. I think there's 2 downsides to this car. It's not as wide, which for parking is nice, but you know things are a little bit more compact from a width standpoint. I would say the cabin length feels very similar.
Yeah.
The seating position in the Honda is nicer. I do feel like I'm higher up here, and things just feel a bit more cheap.
Yep.
We rag on GM with like cheap plastics and stuff, but this just has a feeling of just ugly stuff, you know, swoopy designs, which I'm not a fan of. And
I don't know, it's never done it for me. Even the outside of this, I still can't get on board. I've decided I just really don't like the look.
Okay, I totally disagree. I think this thing looks great. And I'm normally not like a slopey SUV guy. I don't think the Prologue looks bad. I think it looks great too.
Yeah.
But in my impression, this just seems a little bit more futuristic in the design.
But it's interesting how no matter what trim, base model, premium, usually with cars, that doesn't change the software experience. And so when the software experience is terrible, you just feel that much worse spending that much more for the top trim.
Absolutely. Now, I still think the ride in this is reasonable in the sense where it totally comfort. You can drive it every day. But no question, the character of the cars are Honda is so unlike Honda in the sense where that's the highway cruiser, the one you just want to sit, relax, and put miles on.
Right.
And this is the one you want to go find twisty roads and shred.
Yeah.
And
wild.
It's so unusual that the brands have done this, but this is actually a really nicely set up car. I think the brake pedal in both are kind of weird and augmented because they're both not totally great brake pedals. But most of the time you're just cruising around, and this gets the job done, Jordan.
Yep.
This really gets the job done. So with all that said, let's run back and go through pricing and value. Is this person literally pulling out right in front of us?
Basically.
That was fantastic driving. Wow. Absolutely amazing. And just to show you one last time, you know, throwing it through the corner here, just as an example, get it in, and it just moves. I mean, it's just lots of traction control. You got to turn it off in both cars. They're very traction control heavy.
But then what happens when you don't touch the steering wheel in the ProPilot?
Oh, I can show you this. Thank you. So let's just set the speed down. No one's behind us. So it's very sensitive to having hands on the wheel because it's like the basic ProPilot.
Yeah.
Which is fine. You just put your hand on the wheel. It comes up with warning. Get ready for the like takeover request.
Oh. Oh my gosh. Go quick before it explodes.
Yeah. And then.
Whoa.
it made a different note. There we go. That's the airplane I'm about to crash out of the sky. No one's behind us. Let's just see what happens. Hazards are on. Really nicely tuned.
Wow.
Will it put it in park? Just stays in drive with the hazards on. Take steering control. And then I can just, and it put the parking brake on, but left it in drive.
Wow.
So it checks all the correct boxes.
That's
so if you wake
yeah.
up, you can just go.
Wow.
So Nissan did a great job with this. I can't wait to run this in the hogback test, because that kind of, other than unlocking the doors and putting the interior lights on
yeah.
and calling SOS, because it has an SOS button. BMW will auto call, Porsche auto calls.
Yep.
But dude, that's like really nice.
Yeah, that's
way
great.
better than Tesla.
But it's funny, the sounds are all like 2005, the screens from 2005. There's just a lot of things are like early video game days.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, I like that whole thing. I don't like any of this. This is the worst part of the car. Like, take the GM software. I never thought I'd say this ever, but take General Motors software and put it in here, make it 100 times better.
Wow. That's
how you know how bad this is.
Okay, so again, this was $46,000, but spec for spec, you're looking at mid-tier all-wheel drive, 56 grand, 50 grand. That is way too much money for me. So
For either car.
What are my options?
Right, so just as you mentioned, $50,000 is big battery all-wheel drive, one of these. For the similar equipment, $6,000 more for the Honda and no lane centering.
Oh,
That's a real big miss. We never, the thing is, leasing traditionally had never made sense for buying a car, Jordan. And we're going to have a whole video, or we already do, depending on when things go up, on should you lease or buy an electric car. Cars like this will be worth almost nothing in the secondary market in just a few years.
that's what we've seen in the last couple of years, yeah.
Yep, I mean, the market is just flooded with basic, electric cars that, technology's improving so rapidly that you kind of have to switch them out like phones every few years to get the newest, latest, greatest. And that just drives the prices down. The fact that there are still barriers to entry to an electric car means not everyone can buy one. And so unless it's a specialty piece, unless it's something uber desirable, we really recommend leasing electric cars to protect yourself from the downside depreciation. People can do whatever they want. I don't care what they do with their money. It's just my view is protect yourself from the depreciation, lease the car. And I think you'll be way ahead in the long run in terms of trying to get out of it at the end of the lease. Now, what I've done is I've gone to both dealerships in town who have graciously loaned us this car. I've gone to Fort Collins Nissan and Markley Honda, both in Fort Collins, Colorado. They're two great dealers. We love working with them. They've hooked us up to do this, and they will let us do as many different comparisons as we want in the future. So stay tuned. We got more coming.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to start on the Honda because it's more expensive MSRP and it's more expensive on a lease, Jordan, but still not bad. What I've done is I've factored in Fort Collins, Colorado taxes and fees, which means when you see like a lease that car for $279 a month with $3,000 down or whatever, that is not factoring in the thousands of dollars of tax and dealer fee and everything that goes into it. They basically, the way leases are advertised to people is completely untruthful, not accurate at all, and I think builds a huge amount of distrust in the car industry.
Right.
And why I have a lot of issues with dealers. So that's why I physically went into both dealerships and had them, if I were to lease this car with my city's taxes here in Fort Collins, which is very high in our state, what the lease numbers would be. Interesting thing with the Honda is 0 down. I'm talking nothing out of pocket. I want to drive that off the lot, including every fee, every tax. Now, if you live pretty much in any other city in Colorado, it would be cheaper because Fort Collins taxes are expensive. $400 a month, basically, $410.51. However, when it comes time to taxes, I will actually get a $3,500 tax credit because Honda does not apply that in the lease. So unlike Nissan, which does build it into the lease to get a lower payment, you have to wait to get the tax credit on that. Does it matter to you, or would you prefer that they roll it into the lease?
I'd rather have it rolled in, but I could see people arguing either way.
Yeah. And like Rivian can't roll it in the lease, but Tesla can now. Not when you got your Tesla, actually.
Yeah,
you're going to get that back on your taxes.
Yeah.
But still, I think that's a limitation with Honda's leasing system, or maybe our local dealer. But 0 down, I'm sure they would even negotiate a little bit. But let's just say $400 a month on that Prologue for that trim as it sits. Not bad.
Yeah.
That's a lot of car for the money.
Yeah. And it is funny that when you originally reviewed this almost 2 years ago, in that video, which I just rewatched
On the Ariya?
on the Ariya, you were like, wow, if only this was a cheap lease deal, like $599 a month, which is just talking about the difference of the car market nowadays.
Yeah.
So yeah, now $400 a month for this thing does feel pretty good.
And this will change month to month. There will be specials. Prologues, even like a couple months ago, used to be even cheaper than that.
Right.
So that's where it makes our job hard, because typically we compare MSRP to MSRP. That's not how people are buying electric cars. Over 80% of the EV sales here in Colorado, is what someone told me, I don't know if they're true or not, are leases.
Right.
Like
And
an insane amount.
Honda sold a lot of these last year, and that was mostly because so many dealers were doing huge deals to get them off the lots. So maybe that's a little fudgy on why they were like one of the best selling EVs in America.
Yep. So then the Nissan this is without getting aggressive at the dealer. The dealer's like, if they come in, Fort Collins Nissan, they're an out-of-spec viewer, we're gonna hook them up. This is over $50 a month less for the equivalent all-wheel drive long-range version of the Ariya. So this is about $350 a month or so, $359, zero down, everything included. And the one caveat is I'm pretty sure they factor in the $3,500 lease credit here in our state.
Yeah.
In that. So they're actually very close,
right,
if you ignore that wash right there. And that makes it really hard to pick a winner here, because it's not like this is particularly cheaper. The one thing I will say, Jordan, is I don't think March of 2025 is the right time to buy an Ariya, because what's happening in the market with these is dealers are flooded with them right now. They have over 100 at Fort Collins Nissan. And they're like, they just dumped them all on there. And I think that means there's going to be a big program coming.
Right.
I'm pretty sure if you wait a month or two, these things are going to get real cheap. I'm talking under $200 a month, nothing down, is what I'm feeling.
And if they do, we'll just make a quick bits video on what's going on there.
Yeah, of course. So stay tuned to Out of Spec Bits for stuff like that. But now that we've got pricing out of the way, is there anything else left to go through? The lease terms are all pretty standard. That was on 3-year, 10,000 miles per year on everything. You have to pay over mileage, of course. You can construct it however you want. That's for local Fort Collins taxes. But, even though that car is $6,000 more expensive than the equivalent one of these, by the way, the small battery one's like zero down, $200 a month, basically.
Right, so you can get into these for even cheaper.
Yes, because they offer the small battery, which for most people is fine. They charge even faster, 10 to 80.
Yep.
And they have the same power output. They're lighter, less material waste. And I really like this trim, which is just a base all-wheel drive.
Yep.
But if you had to drive one home right now, they're basically the same money.
I think it came down to software versus lane centering.
Yeah, that's annoying that the one with better software has less tech.
Yeah, and so I would have to go Prologue myself, because I like the design so much more. Again, that's very subjective.
Yeah, this is your opinion.
Yeah, but the software is objectively way better. Route planning is awesome, and sure, I can manually do all that. I feel like I am the super nerd that could manage that just fine on this car myself, but I would rather have good software on a day-to-day basis and just manually drive.
You know what, Jordan? I agree with you. I think the Prologue is the choice here, only because of the 1947 software on this thing is just an egregious oversight. And I'm glad it has lane centering, but there's just something like nicer about the seating position in that car. And when I really think about, do I need my electric crossover to be sporty? For my use case, no. And I just want to have like a nice cruiser. Now, I could be swayed into the Ariya if I was going to do a lot of highway driving with it.
Yeah.
But I do think the battery preconditioning, living where we are here in Colorado, almost trumps all of that, because I do a lot of DC fast charging, especially in colder temperatures, and this would be impossible to own for me. That's an annoyance that you have to drive it. This would be a complete non-starter for winter charging performance.
Right, but if I was, I'd say more of an average person looking to just get an EV for home commuting, and
Then
you can charge at home.
I would do this.
Small battery this.
Yep.
I would just save maximum money and just Apple CarPlay. You got lane centering, still a good car.
And I think it's more true to the brand too. Not that it really matters, but this is a Nissan. Honestly, it could be badged as an Infinity. I kind of wish they'd made this an Infinity.
That's something I wish I did.
Yep, but we've mentioned that a few times about this car. There is something cool about the way this drives though. The all-wheel drive system works pretty well.
Yeah.
Love the adjustability. And you're right, if I am gonna do most of my driving around town or in the mountains, this is the choice. If I really don't care about lane centering, that's the choice. And there's the video. It was an interesting comparison, Jordan.
Yeah, I like these comparisons because I probably would have never even thought to cross-shop these, but the more you look into them, the more it does make sense.
So the reason I chose these two is a friend of mine's buying an electric car right now. And she was like, oh, I went to go look at the Blazer and the Ariya. And I thought, well, let's do Prologue because this has been very popular.
Right, yeah.
But she was cross-shopping essentially that car's sister car with this.
Yep.
And she ended up going with a Mini Countryman electric.
Makes sense.
Thanks for watching.
These are your options. Model Y, no.
Honestly, that's the move. Get a Model Y. These are way cheaper on a lease than a Model Y.
Yep.
So then, for just daily transportation, this is, these things. Let us know what other cars you want us to compare. We are going to do a huge SUV comparison towards the end of this year with like 20 or 30 of these. But I do think these are popular cross shoppers.
Yeah.
So see you on another one again soon. Bye-bye.